Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and I was thinking the other day, I even tweeted out asking, what cards surprise you that haven't been nerfed yet that are still in standard? And we've had so many balance patches, so many nerfs, more than ever lately, and there's still a ton of cards in the game that I'm like, how has this not been nerfed yet? This is kind of crazy, and some of them have been around for quite some time. Some of them are relatively new, and I thought it'd be a lot of fun to go over 10 cards that I still can't believe haven't been nerfed, and you guys can give me your opinion in the comments below of what you think or can't believe hasn't been nerfed. And I'm not saying that all these cards should be nerfed, by the way. That's not what this video is about. It's just more of like, I can't believe these cards haven't been touched in some way, and there's a good chance they probably won't. I mean, look at a card like Tunnel Trog. I thought that card forever would get nerfed. Never did. Prince Keleseth, as an example, another card I thought would get nerfed, never did, and now they're in Wild where they don't really do a heck of a lot. So sometimes cards just don't get nerfed, and sometimes it's okay. So let's get going. Let's take a look at 10 cards that I can't believe haven't been nerfed yet. So starting off at number 1, we'll go straight to number 1, Scabs Cutter Butter. Absolutely broken, 10 out of 10 card. How could they make this? No. Oh wait, Nova's not around. I don't have to pretend. Okay, never mind. Scabs isn't on the list. Anyways, starting off for real this time at number 10, we have Sorcerers Gambit, the Mage Quest. Quest line that was recently introduced to the Gaming Night Store Women. There's been so much complaining about Quest Mage in general. And I feel like Sorcerer's Gambit was a card that definitely could have been hit in the latest balance patch. And it's just kind of one of those really too easy to complete quests. I mean, you see mages consistently get this done by like turns 5, 6, 7, especially with like an Enchantress flow early. It can be even earlier than that. And play rate wise, this is the most popular deck in Hearthstone. However, it's not the most powerful deck in the world. And it's also the argument as being the most popular, probably upset a lot more people than nerfing anything else. So Sorcerer's Gambit low on my list, but again, somewhat of a more problematic card. But I think there's another mage card that might be a little bit more problematic and a bit more surprising that it's already stayed the way it is. Anyways, we'll get to that. At number 9, we have a card that isn't really a big player these days, but I thought for sure was going to get nerfed back in the day. And that was Animated Broomstick. 1 mana, 1/1, rush minion, and Battlecry gives all of their minions on the battlefield rush. And well, I thought for sure this would get nerfed to like it would give adjacent minions rush or just 1 minion rush. And it was really prevalent until, well, all of a sudden the board stopped mattering in Hearthstone. The board stopped mattering and it didn't really matter. People didn't really play Animated Broomstick anymore. And it's very actually quite uncommon in standard and heck, even in Wild. It was more prevalent in Wild with Dark Lair Warlock for a while, but again, Animated Broomstick doesn't really pop up that much, but for a while, like I was like, whenever we're doing like nerf prediction videos or suggestions, Animated Broomstick was on there for quite some time. But I guess they knew that the board wouldn't matter in Hearthstone, and we enter this game state of whatever we're in right now. So I guess they had a feeling that Broomstick just didn't need that nerf, and well, I can't see getting nerfed anytime soon the way the game is going. At number 8, we have the Rogue Minion Field Contact. 3 mana, 3/2. After you play a battle cry or combo card, draw a card. So it's like Gadgets and Auctioneer for half the mana, but it's not just for spells, it's for battle cry or combo cards. And well, that's not too hard to accomplish when you have a ton of really good 1 mana Battlecry cards, like say a Penflinger or a Wand Thief or something like that. You have like Brain Freeze, all these cheap Battlecry cards that you can draw your deck, and especially when you discount it like Octobot. More on that card later, by the way. It's just quite surprising that, you know, Auctioneer, which was nerfed from 5 to 6 mana, was given to Rogue for half the cost and is, well, leads to quite ridiculous things. Basically, Rogue, no matter what archetype they play now, they draw their entire deck before you get to 10 mana. So you either got to kill them or survive their onslaught of damage with like weapon removal or armor gain. But regardless, Field Contact is just such ridiculous cheap removal or draw that I always figured it'd probably get bumped up to 4 mana at some point, but here we are. Field Contact still untouched, but again, I think it's more of like Rogue hasn't performed amazingly well. Rogue's pretty popular. It does pretty well at high legend, but outside of that, not so much. So I feel like if this got out of line, the win rate Rogue ever gets out of line, I imagine Field Contact and maybe another card would get hit pretty quickly. But I think that's what saved this card so far and why it hasn't been nerfed, but we'll have to see if it'll survive this entire standard year without getting nerfed. At number 7, we have the Druid spell Arbor Up, and I for sure thought this card was going to get nerfed at some point. 5 mana spell, you summon 2/2/2 treants, and then you give your minions +2/+1. So automatically this is like what, a 5 mana 8/6? Like, wow, that's terrible. But you literally hit like 1 or 2 minions, you are pushing an insane amount of damage, you're getting a bunch of board presence for like nothing. You compare it to like Force of Nature or most buffs, it's just it feels like a 6 mana card to me. Arbor Up has always felt like it should be 6 mana, but it's always stayed at 5, and it's a powerhouse. It's a ridiculous card in Druid. It allows like token Druid to have that insane finisher. It lets Anaconda Druid just do broken stuff. It's just a crazy card. And I always thought for sure at some point it go to 5 to 6, but here we are still at 5. And I'm not saying it should be nerfed, but man, I always thought at some point it would get hit. And so far, Arbor Up still remains a powerhouse at 5 mana. At number 6, we have, well, an 8 mana card. And, well, there's a reason it probably won't get nerfed right now because it's 8 mana, but Illidari Inquisitor, the King Rush, Green Rag, whatever you want to call it, and I'll keep saying it's King Rush. Yeah, the Demon Hunter minion that basically has Wind Fury. The way it works is it has Rush, and if it'll also attack whatever your hero attacks. So typically your hero will attack face and push 8, and then if this survives, it can attack twice. It's just a ridiculous card, and a lot of people complained about it when it came out, and it was very prevalent during the Barons meta, but the game's accelerated a lot right now, and you don't see this card too much. But back during the Barons, I just thought for sure this would either lose Rush, lose its Demon Tag, go up a mana. I just wasn't sure what they would do, but Illidari just seems so busted, and especially you compare it to King Crush, you compare it to Alexstrasza or whatever. It's just ridiculous, but hey, it's still at 8 mana and it doesn't see a heck of a lot of play. So again, maybe they knew what they were doing. Like 8 mana cards aren't going to be relevant, so why would we nerf it at all? At number 5, we have one of the more hated cards in recent memory, and it's a new one, and that's Ignite. 2 mana mage spell where you deal 2 damage and you shuffle a copy of Ignite into your deck, and well, it gets +1 damage every single time. It's Jade Idol, but it goes face and it amplifies with spell damage, and it's ridiculous. And why did they remake this? Why is it in the game? And the power level of this card, again, not extremely high. Quest Mage isn't extremely high. It's the feeling it makes. The fact that it just auto beats any slow control deck. You cannot beat infinite damage. It's pretty hard to do, and it's surprising to me that when they made Jade Idol, they kind of recognized that was a mistake and made Skulking Geist, and then they went and made a way better Jade Idol down the road with Ignite. And I don't know, I just feel like this card is problematic. It's frustrating. It destroys an entire archetype if it's popular, and like I said, it's the most popular archetype on ladders, so very frustrating card. I'm surprised they haven't touched it quite yet, and I don't know, they never touched Jade Idol. They might never touch Ignite. I thought maybe they would learn from that mistake or whatever, if you want to call it that. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. At number 4, we have a Druid Legendary Lady Anaconda, 6 mana 3/7. Your nature spells cost 2 less, and this card is stupid. This card is just absurd with Celestial Alignment. It's absurd with Germination. It creates these unanswerable blowout turns that are just beyond frustrating. And I just thought for sure they would make it that the spells can't cost 0, right? Your nature spells cost 2 less, but can't cost 0. And that hasn't happened yet. And yeah, she just scams. And it's a pretty awful feeling to face Anaconda, unless you're running like a board clear like Brawl, or have like a bear off clear where you just killed your opponent already. But yeah, it's just one of those cards that creates feelings in the game that I feel like they don't want to have in the game. And it can happen pretty early when you have cards like Lightning Bloom and Overgrowth. It's just, I don't think it's a healthy card for the game. I thought it would get a hit at some point. Hopefully, maybe at some point she does. It just, I've played a lot of Anaconda Druid. It's kind of fun to play, but at the same time, it just creates these non-games that just aren't fun, I feel like, for anyone in the end. And I would love to see it maybe changed at some point. Speaking of cheating mana, at number 3 we have Lightning Bloom, the dual class Shaman Druid spell that you gain 2 crystals, you overload for 2, and I just thought they kept saying they don't want these early blowout turns and all this stuff, and what does Lightning Bloom create? Early blowout turns. It creates these ridiculous turns that old Innervate got nerfed for a reason for, but here we are, we're over a year into since Skullmance came out, and Lightning Bloom remains untouched. Gibberling died for it. A lot of other cards like Kael'thas died for it. A lot of cards have been nerfed because of Lightning Bloom, and well, Lightning Bloom still remains, and I would be quite surprised if it changes at this point, but at the same time, it's kind of surprising that it's at this point to begin with. At number 2, we have another 0 mana spell. It's crazy how mana cheat always seems to pop up on these lists, like almost all these cards, but regardless. Raise Dead. Raise Dead was another card I thought for sure at some point would get nerfed. Another dual class Priest Warlock card. Man, Priest would take a lot of hits because of Warlock and all the brokenness. But yeah, Raise Dead, getting 2 minions that have died this game back in your hand, dealing 3 damage to yourself. Incredibly good as a self-damage effect with like Dark Lair, the Demon Seed, all that good stuff, or just a ridiculous value card. 0 mana, draw 2. It's pretty crazy, and I thought for sure at some point it would go to like 1 minion, or they, raise it to 1 mana, something to make it a little bit more of a consequence in self-damage, which again can just be a good thing. So yeah, Raise Dead, I've kept like all my copies of this card forever, and it just never gets nerfed. A bunch of cards get nerfed around it, but never Raise Dead itself. So another one that is quite surprising. And my number one most surprising card that hasn't been nerfed yet, for me, it's got to be Efficient Octobot. 2 mana, 1/4 frenzy minion, and it discounts your hand by 1. This is Emperor Thorson for 2 mana. For 2 mana, you can run 2 of them, and now you have cards like Shroud of Concealment that tutor it. It's just absurd. And it's given to a class like Rogue that has Shadow Step and Field Contact, all these insane cards. Where Octobot, you play it on 2, you basically win the game a lot of the time. It's just disgusting. And I thought for sure it'd either go to like a 1/3 or 3 mana or something, because this card is just, it's gross. But again, I think it just the card doesn't suffer, but the reason it doesn't get nerfed is because of Rogue's win rate. Again, has not been spectacular. It's not a top performing class, so why would we nerf it, even though the card itself creates these really awful games that feel pretty awful and really just not that fun. But overall, I just can't believe Octobot is still the way it is to this very day. And I would be very surprised if it stays this way forever, but I don't know. Cards got this year and next year to survive without getting nerfed. It's a Forge of the Barons card, so it's got to survive a long time without getting nerfed, and we'll have to wait and see if that happens. So if you guys enjoyed the video, let me know in the comments below what you agree with, disagree with, what you think, what you're surprised that hasn't been nerfed. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.